Hello everyone, welcome to a new video for SUI render and FET price prediction based on Elliott Wave analysis. We're gonna start with SUI on the 4-hour chart to see what we gonna have after this very complex structure that we are getting over there. I would say even the complexity has started within this week, where we have, of course, a diagonal here, very clear wave 1, or a wave A, of course, it can be as well. You have a wave 2 and you have a wave 3 here. In case that we are still looking for a wave 4 there, it can be the expanding flat there, because, of course, we took the low here. And this meaning, of course, can be an expanding flat for a wave 4. And we're still looking for a wave 5, which it might be not finished yet. However, as we can see that this is a clear impulse there. It can be, of course, a clear impulse, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. And this correction here can unfold a wave 5 still. But the problem with the wave 5 here is that we don't have any kind of an impulsive wave or a motive wave. Meaning, if we are in a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5, everything is overlapping. Even the wave 1 is 3 waves. The wave 3 also is totally overlapping. It's not allowed to be a diagonal. And of course, we have a 4 and a 5. Also, here something is wrong with the wave 5. Meaning, it's a very complex structure and it is very corrective. Now, we can consider it all of it as W, X, and a Y somehow, where your wave 4 can still range for a longer time here or push toward the upside. And that's why, of course, this wave 4 was already there, because I'm still expecting 3 waves up, 3 waves down, and potentially 3 waves up at least here to finish a wave 4, and then pushing one more move toward the downside to finish up here a full impulse potentially, of course, for SUI, where you have a 1, 2, and then wave 3, and then 4 and a 5. The blue box can still be a target and can still be, of course, something to be reached sooner or later. However, by all means, if this correction, of course, still very complex, therefore I'm still looking for higher recovery here. I'm looking for a potential 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5, or at least, of course, a structure as a zigzag, A, B, and a C. If in case that we're gonna take here the target as 1-to-1 fib level, so can be, of course, an invalidation for any kind of an impulsive wave, but it doesn't mean that you invalidate, of course, the wave 5. Because, of course, if your wave 1 is taken from here, and we're gonna get a wave 4 there, we can still get, of course, a wave 5, finishing up a full impulse toward the downside. By all means, on the 1-hour chart here, I'm still looking for higher, and especially, of course, after hitting the 0.786 taken from this potential impulse, A, B, and a C, or a wave 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5 continuation toward the upside. Now, if we take a look also at the KGT indicator here, we can see also that we have a divergence for the bullish. The first divergence that it appears, but of course don't forget that you still have a pressure from the bearish there. It's still in convergence so far, unless we take the high. By all means, on the chart here, if we take the high over there, which is very likely, this high, that means, of course, it is an invalidation for bearish, and it might, of course, simply continue towards the upside. So the minimum target that I'm looking for is, at least right now, taking an ABC zigzag, which it can be, of course, 1-to-1 fib level, taken from the A to the B to the C there. In case that it's going to be a longer correction here as W, X, and Y, it still can reach, of course, the 1.83. So 2 targets here to be watched. The first target is, of course, this zigzag as a 1-to-1 fib level over there. And that means, of course, you might reach exactly the $1.54 here for SUI. So this is what I'm looking for. And here is a kind of at least even invalidation of bearish, meaning if this is an impulse, but I doubt it, guys. So I think that we cannot consider it even as an invalidation. That because, of course, it's not an impulse there. Therefore, I'm looking for at least 1.54, and if broken, we might, of course, reach the $1.83 here as a potential bigger correction, and then, of course, continuation toward the downside. Yep, so this is what I'm looking for SUI right now. I see some signal of strength, of course, but don't forget the bearish signal and the selling pressure is still there, knowing that also the bulls are there. we can see, of course, some push toward the upside here, and this divergence is playing right now for higher prices. Yep, so this is regarding SUI. If we move to render here, for render also on the 4 hours chart, we are looking at our massive correction here as an A, B, and a C. Now, this wave B is, of course, a triangle where we finished a wave B, and we're looking, of course, for a wave C towards the downside, which it might be unfolding here as a 1, 2, 3. Of course, this wick is very, very long, but you can consider the body of the candles as your wave 3 there, and you might have a wave 4, and the wave 5 has finished as diagonal here as a 1, 2, and then 3, 4, and a 5, especially that we have 3 waves over there. Now, what is very interesting as well that we didn't reach yet, of course, the perfect target. Well, it is reached actually the 0.618, but it still can have more lower prices. And that means in case that this wave 5 is going to unfold something as A, B, and a C is still very likely. You still have until the 1-to-1 fib level to, of course, have a longer wave 5 there as diagonal. So as a zigzag, I'm looking, of course, for an ABC. But what is very interesting as well, that this correction here might take a little bit higher prices as an ABC first, and then pushing for lower one more time again. So this is what I'm looking for. Now, an impulse here is hard to call, honestly, on the 1 hour chart. Of course, it's hard to call this as a clear impulse 1, 2, and especially with the wave 2 is very, very long time here in WXNY again, which is very low possibility, and still no signal for something really strong for render to push for higher. But what I'm looking here at is at least a regular flat, that it might be, of course, the 1-to-1 fib level, as well as a wave C in a regular flat to reach, of course, the $1.4 there for a wave C. Yep, so this is regarding render. I still see, of course, lower prices might be taking, of course, our blue box here. The target might be the $1. But we might see a little bit of higher prices before we dive deeper again, of course, for render here. Yep, so this is regarding render. The next one is FET. We have on the 4 hour chart as well. Almost the same correction of render that we saw, of course, in a wave A or a W. Don't forget that this is a very long, correction that it has started on the daily from there. Yeah, so we have 3 waves down, and you have the triangle, and then we push, of course, for lower. Don't forget that the timing is very necessary to have here to create a balance, of course, with this correction. Now, basically on the 4 hour chart, what's going on after this wave B in the triangle? We are looking, of course, at this impulse 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5 potentially finished impulse over there. And we got a clear reaction here as something, of course, dividing the structure. And that means if you are in a wave Y, you might be, of course, here in an A. The wave B can be finished in WXNY, and you're looking for a wave C toward the downside, that it might still take time there to be finished. Now, of course, it can be something like a finished the ending diagonal by barely taking the low there. But of course, the signal there that we see on the 1 hour chart, the sideways, the complexity, it doesn't mean anything bullish yet, of course. We still, of course, looking at something corrective and looking for lower prices sooner or later. By all means, it can be, of course, something even as an A, B, and a C still unfolding here. Potential the diagonal finished over there, and it can be, of course, 3 waves corrective, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5 still to reach our target 0.13 cents here as a common target for a potential wave. Wave C can be there, of course, but even if you are in a bigger impulse here, as let's say 1, 2, 3, 4 and a 5 as well, the same thing I would say might be unfolding as a big 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The same blue box, the same target can still be taken. Now, would this finish the structure, the corrective structure? Well, I doubt it, guys. But we might see, of course, a reversal, a strong reversal toward the upside, meaning when we finish the structure potentially as an impulse, can make, of course, a strong reversal as a wave B, and then having a wave C again, and to finish, of course, as this full structure as A, B, and a C within the time, the most common time, FIP time there, to start to see something as a bull run, and of course, a possible new high there to be taken. So I would say, of course, lower prices are still expected in a push toward the downside, but of course, a reversal also is very, very expected after it. So I doubt that we're gonna dive very deep. I think that one more low can be very likely, and it might unfold something very strong toward the upside as a wave B, because you might have finished a wave, of course, A, B, and a C to finish the wave Y there in a longer structure, of course, to reach the time. Yep, so this is regarding the altcoins, the SUI, Render, and FET. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your likes and comments, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.